is the worst sentence you ever wrote?
This is the worst sentence I ever wrote. You know, this sort of doesn't count, but 1985, my first real book, was a book that I wrote with Kim Newman, and it was called Ghastly Beyond Belief. And Ghastly Beyond Belief was my compilation with Kim of the worst quotes from fantasy and science fiction and horror that we could find. He did movies, and I did books. So I actually started out my career by typing out sentences like from Night of the Crabs. I think my two favorite sentences from Night of the Crabs were, "What a beautiful night this would be," he thought, as he walked past the barbed wire that surrounded the war memorial, if it weren't for the threat of giant crabs. And of course, but even that paled, my very favorite sentence was, he wasn't going to leave Janice Williams alone that night, crabs or no crabs. While I didn't originate that, I did type it.
Have you experienced rejection or failure as a writer, and if so, how do you handle it?
Yeah. One of the things that happens, especially when you're starting out, is you write stories and you send them out. In my head, as a young man, whenever I would send out a story, what I would expect to have happen was the following morning, a limo would show up at my house, and people would get out of it, and they would say, "This is yours, we love your story so much. You never have to work again. Just thank you for writing this story which we're going to publish and make sure everybody in the whole world reads." And instead, 6 weeks later, it would come back with a little slip saying, "Not quite right for us," or whatever. It was okay. What you do is, I did two different things. What I did as a very young man was get things back and go, either I'm not very good, which I do not choose to believe, although it probably was kind of true, or I'm just doing this wrong, and I need to find out how this all works. So that was the point where I became a journalist, and I became a journalist specializing in publishing, in books, and I found out how it all worked, and 2 months later, had sold 2 books, and then got a quote from Muddy Waters, which I stuck to my typewriter, which tells you how long ago this was. And it just said, "Don't let your mouth write note, check your tail can't cash." That was my quote, and I went, how did I just sold 2 books, I've never written a book. What am I doing? And got through it, my tail cashed those checks, but really, I kind of dealt with it by just vowing to myself that, I would try and write things that were so brilliant that nobody could reject them. And now, of course, I'm in this horrible other situation, which is, I worry that nobody's going to tell me if I write a dud short story. Because everyone's going to go, "Well, we've got a Neil Gaiman short story. We'll put it on the cover of the book."
I'll tell you.
You would too.
All right, next question.
Go
Who
for
was
it.
your favorite teacher?
Who was my favorite teacher? Probably Mr. Hayes.
The maths teacher?
Bill Hayes. No, he was an English teacher, of course. And he was better than any other teacher I ever had because he gave me money. I would have been about 10 going on 11, somewhere like that. And he said, "Did you ever read Gone with the Wind?" And I said, "No." He said, "I'll give you 10 shillings if you read Gone with the Wind." Right. And I read Gone with the Wind over the next week, staying up late. And have no idea to this day. When I finished it, I went in and said, "Finished it." And we chatted about it for a while and gave him 10 shillings, which was a lot of money. No idea why. But it absolutely moved him from the ranks of pretty good teachers to absolutely my favorite teacher ever. That, you know, the idea, and I thought, if only this catches on amongst teachers. I need to read books. I'm there. I'm so there.